In the endless twilight on the border of Luminara, Sharith prowled through the dense jungle canopy. Her glowing stripes flickered faintly as she moved, blending with the draped light of the forest floor below. "I hate Lookout," Sharith thought to herself as her tail twitched with annoyance. She would much rather be back at the lunar shores with her friends, playing in the sunlit sands and splashing water at Kuruth. "He hates the water," Sharith thought to herself. The air was humid, thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth and blooming flora. Sharith's ears perked for but a moment. A twig had broken in the distance. Her eyes, radiant as emerald flames, locked onto the clearing ahead. Movement? All the way out here? She jumped down from her high perch in the trees and stealthed her way closer. She quickly took to the shadows as she identified her threat. A group of human bandits were setting up camp, their shouts and reckless movements echoing through the trees. Sharith crouched low, her tail flicking silently behind her as she studied the group. 7 in total. One polishing a sword with casual confidence, while another attempted desperately to get a campfire going. But it was the leader who caught her attention, a hulking figure, tattooed in fiery red patterns that pulsated ominously. Flames dancing along his fingertips as he walked about, a dangerous display of his Aurora-gifted powers. "What could bandits ever want this far from Venera?" she thought, her claws lightly gripping the ground beneath her. "I will dash back for help." Even as she was thinking this, she was frozen in place. Not entirely sure why, but she felt intrigued by the humans and their wanderings. She took one step forward blindly, and that was all it took. A dry branch snapped beneath her, the sound cutting through the jungle's hum like a sharp cry. She winced. The bandits turned, their eyes scanning the area. "There! Someone's in the shadows!" Sharith cursed under her breath and leapt to another shadow. Her movement swift, but now illuminated by the glow of her markings. An arrow flew past her ear, burying itself in the bark of a nearby tree. Sharith whispered many more curses under her breath and steadied her stumbling stance. Kurgo had always said, instead of running, make things interesting. Dive into the mouth of the beast. Give them the meaning of surprise. With that, she took a short breath. "Kurgo, if I die, it's your fault." Sharith gritted her teeth, and with a graceful leap, she landed in the middle of the clearing. The bandits surrounded her, weapons drawn, her stripes pulsing with intensity. Well, what do we have here? A little stray cat far from home. Not smart, little kitten. Sloppy. Time to be badass, Sharith thought. Not as dumb as you. Nailed it, she thought with a smile. A thin bandit to her right suddenly lunged. Sharith sharply ducked low, her claws slicing through his weapon's leather grip, disarming him. It was all a blur, but after the graceful scratch, he fell back with surprise, stumbling into the dirt. The bandit leader raised an eyebrow. Another charged with a dagger. Sharith jumped left, then leapt onto his back, her claws raking across his arm before shoving him into the small fire that they had barely started lighting. Get her. Get her now, the leader ordered, his fiery tattoos flaring to life, flames erupting from his hands as he hurled a blazing arc of pure flame from his fingertips. Sharith did the only thing she could think of. She jumped. Straight up. She glided over the heat wave and landed perfectly with the fire now behind her. She smiled. That had to look epic, she thought. The leader took a deep breath. Flames started to escape his mouth when suddenly he roared, unleashing a torrent of fire. Sharith was in shock but dashed to the left. Her right side was singed by the flames. Her glowing stripes flickered with a phantom-like glow. That hurt. Into the mouth of the beast, she thought. In one bound, she lunged at a nearby tree and ricocheted off it straight at the throat of the leader, her claws digging into his fiery tattoos. His scream of surprise was silent by the claws around his throat. Her glowing claws and flame-kissed fur were indeed enough to to strike fear into any. She tightened her grip around his neck, knowing all eyes were on her. "Leave," she hissed in his face. She released him, and he went gasping to the ground. Through his coughs and stumbling, he went back into the dirt and dust. Silence fell over the camp. Every moment felt like an eternity. The leader struggled to his feet, looked Sharish in the eyes, and ran for his life the opposite direction. The bandits fled into the jungle, leaving their weapons and supplies behind. Sharith stood tall, her glowing eyes scanning the clearing. She couldn't help but notice her stripes were a little extra bright. "Nice," she thought.